All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. 8 a.m. on the dot. I had to hurry. I think I was 8:01 yesterday. Might have been 8:01 2 days in a row. My apologies, everybody. My apologies. Get your shit together, Sliwa. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Happy Friday to everybody. Of course, Friday means we're going to do a member show 9:30 today. We're cranking it out. I'm done here. We go straight to a member show and we get things started. So thank you very much for being a part of the show. Looking forward to talking NBA basketball with you guys for the next hour. Got a lot of good stuff to get into. I don't know if you guys, which camp are you in? Somebody tell me, which camp are you in? Are you the camp that is enjoying this NBA Western Conference that has been incredible? Or are you the camp that's bitching and complaining about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder? Can everybody just stop complaining for a quick second and enjoy these Western Conference Finals? I think the Western Conference Finals has been so freaking good. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. Cup of coffee here, little Bird Rock Coffee Roasters. Place is awesome. If you're ever down in San Diego, they got some good coffee, good brew there. Here's what we got going on for the show today. We do have a guest, so just a heads up on that. I'll probably start off the show. I'm going to talk about the Spurs forcing a Game 7. Just a badass series so far. Just an incredible, incredible series. I'm so happy this series is going 7 games. It deserves 7 games. We'll talk about last night's game. We'll talk about the game coming up tomorrow. What a kind of cool moment for the NBA, just to have these two young elite teams battling. It needs to go 7. It's going 7, so that's phenomenal there. We'll spend a little bit of time on that. Guest coming on today, 8:15 is going to be Khobi Price. So Khobi Price, who's done such a phenomenal job. He's now with the California Post, kind of part of that branch of the New York Post. So he's going to join the show. He's wrote a lot of articles on the Lakers here over these last, since obviously the offseason began. So with that in mind, Khobi's going to join the show. He's got some good articles about players that should stay on the Lakers, why J.J. Redick was properly rated in the offseason, or as far as coach of the year. So we'll get into a bunch of different stuff, get his opinion on what he thinks about Austin Reaves, LeBron, the whole thing. So we certainly can hit on a ton of angles with Khobi Price. What to do with Dalton Knecht? Let me give a shout out here. Let me see. Let me make sure I got this right. There was an article, Silver Screen and Roll. There was an article yesterday that I think came out, and the question was proposed about Dalton Knecht. Usually the way I prep for the show is I'll probably start the night before. Eric's doing some stuff the night before. And I saw this article about what to do with Dalton Knecht. And immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh, shit, I forgot about Dalton Knecht. So shout out to them for, I think that's a great angle to take, and definitely not something that a lot of people are talking about. So we'll give our thoughts on Dalton Knecht, what to do with him. There's really just 2 options with him. And I don't think how they used him last year is the proper way to use him. I'll explain what I mean by that. There's some more kind of conversation around Austin Reaves. It looks like the Nets are going to be bidders for Austin Reaves. I think I mentioned this yesterday. I did a show with Trevor Lane on Lakers Nation on Wednesday night. And when we're doing that show together, that's one of the teams Trevor's like, hey, I just hope the Brooklyn Nets don't come in with some, big time offer. I hope their attention is somewhere else. It may not be. It might be the Brooklyn Nets might be saying to themselves, hey, let's go make a run at Austin Reaves. And if the Lakers end up, paying him X amount of dollars, well, at least we drove the price up for the Lakers. I mean, whether that's in their interest, best interest or not, I don't think they care about what the Lakers are doing. But they do care about if that's a player that they want to target, then that's obviously one way to target him. The lottery draft reform, that it's all changed now. I got something on Brian Windhorst that's kind of explaining it. What are the positives? What are the negatives? We'll give our opinion on that. Got a couple things around the NBA. Game freaking 7 tomorrow between the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll preview the weekend, and then we'll call it a day. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, if you are a member, right when this show is done, give me about 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll start the member show. So shout out to everybody for being here. Thank you for being a member. If you're not a member, all good. Just please subscribe to the channel. Share the videos any way that you think people would appreciate and want the content. Would love for you guys to let some people know that we do this on a daily basis. If you're interested in being a member, it's $3 a month. Great way to support the channel. There's a join link in the description of this video. You can join, and you are a member. Usually, as a member, I definitely spend a lot more time. It's a lot more intimate of a setting. Let's put it that way. All right, let's read a couple of comments here. We're going to get the show started and go from there. Let's see what we got here. Coffee and Slee. Let's get it. That's all we need. We just need coffee. The Slee part, I'm a little suspicious of, but the coffee portion, I'm with you on. We've gotten comfortable with hating and being angry. I know. We all get comfortable with that. SGA is struggling in this series. To be honest, was he that great in the Lakers series? I mean, I thought JJ Redick kind of unleashed a little bit of like, all right, here's a way to guard him, make some of the other players beat the Lakers. And then the other players were like, no problem. We will have no problem doing that. Obviously, that's part of their depth and how great their team is. But certainly that came with the territory. Let's see what we got here. I'm loving watching Wemby and the Spurs develop. I'm not loving watching SGA spend half of the game falling on the ground, phantom calls. It's annoying. All right, let's get the show started. We got enough topics today. I am going to start the show with last night's game. I mean, there are Laker topics, but to be honest, they're not as big as what's happening right now in the NBA. So we'll come back to some of the other. Definitely we'll come back to some of the other Laker topics, but let's just kind of react to what we saw last night. So Spurs force a game 7, and once Khobi Price comes on about 8:15, we'll kind of shift our attention back to the Lakers. Spurs win game 6, 118-91. Here's the one thing: as great as this series has been, the average margin of victory in the series is 15 points. So what was I think it was game 1 was the double overtime game. After that, games really haven't been that close. Now, you could look at it a bunch of different ways. You can, you could obviously put this in you could say, well, is it really that great of a series if these teams are separated by as much as they are? I'll just go to last night. What I've noticed so far this series, which isn't too much of a shock, it really just comes down to mostly the other players. Now, don't get me wrong. When Wemby plays really well, the San Antonio Spurs have a legitimate shot of winning a game. In the wins that they've had, he's been excellent. In the losses that they had, he's kind of been a lot more quiet. Yesterday, he dropped 28, I think 22 in the first half. Also had 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. But why or how the San Antonio Spurs won last night is all the other guys. Castle gave you 17. Dylan Harper off the bench gave you 18 with 6 of 9 from the field. Champagnie gave you 10. Vassell gave you 12. They had 5-6 guys that were in double figures on top of Wemby. And it seems like every single time one of these squads, if it's the San Antonio Spurs that got a number of guys contributing, they're probably going to win the game. If it's the Oklahoma City Thunder, whose guys are balling out, who they weren't yesterday, Lou Dort went 2 of 11. McCain went 4 of 11. There's also a little bit of I think from the San Antonio Spurs, there's a little bit of a physicality that they're trying to punk the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's what they're trying to do. And it's just interesting to watch this game and to watch this series because you got one squad that's a defending champs. You got another squad that's trying to figure it out. Jalen Williams comes back yesterday, really can't offer anything, only played 10 minutes, had 1 point. I feel bad for Jalen Williams. And to be honest, the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder are missing such a key player and are still having as much success that they're having just kind of shows you some of their depth. And they're also accustomed to playing without Jalen Williams. But this thing's going 7. I'm happy it's going 7. I'm excited that it's going 7. I hope you guys are too. I doing my radio show yesterday. By the way, in San Diego, for those who don't know, I do a radio show from 3 to 6. We're talking a little bit about the NBA Finals. And I don't know what to tell you guys. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. But the fact that the only thing people are talking about in this series, like the amount of energy that's going to the actual series, and that we got a game 7 coming up, and that these are by far the two best teams, not just in the West. I mean, the Knicks are going to obviously try to prove that they can hang with these squads. We'll see what happens, whoever gets to the NBA Finals. But the fact that 60% of the energy is all going towards is Oklahoma City Thunder trying to draw too many fouls? And is he's getting to the free throw line? Do they deserve it? This, that. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't see it that way. And that's not to say that SGA is not trying to draw fouls. That doesn't say that. That's not to say that he doesn't flop. But I was listening yesterday, NBA Sirius XM. So I'm listening out driving around yesterday, and I'm like, all right, let's listen to some NBA conversation. These guys spent 45 minutes just talking about that. That was it. Now, callers are calling in. Are they ruining the game? Is this, does this hurt their championship, this champion? That? I'm like, damn, talk about the freaking game. Talk about the game. Now, I get it. I might be more on an island here, but this is a badass series with great players and probably two teams that are going to be representing the Western Conference for a handful of years. We'll see if the Lakers got something to do with it. We'll see if Denver or Houston or Minnesota, one of these other squads, get into the mix. But right now, the future of the Western Conference runs through the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And people can't just enjoy the series. I don't think they can. I'm being honest with you. And again, if you feel that way, that's fine. But I love this series. I love that these two teams are pretty evenly matched. I love that the San Antonio Spurs are so young and are kind of trying to find different ways to try to punk the Oklahoma City Thunder. I love how the Thunder all of a sudden have become the experienced team and are the calm, cool, and collected. And I love how the series is going to 7. But there's a lot of energy going towards SGA and drawing fouls and everything else. I wish it wasn't like that. I can't change that. Let's play one clip here. I got one clip of SGA that I want to play real quick. He's struggled. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has 100% struggled. Look at this. I know I saw this. He shot 35% in Game 3, 40% in Game 4, 37% in Game 5, and 33% in Game 6. Shot under 50% for 4 straight games. That's not very SGA-like. Listen to him post-game talking about the loss. Apparently, SGA has become a villain in the NBA. Take a listen to SGA.
Shane, statistically, these last 4 games, this is as tough of a shooting funk as you've been in, really, since you've become a star. What do you think are the factors there, and how can you get back to your norm in Game 7?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. A lot of the shots that I'm shooting, I've shot plenty of times before, and they feel good. They're just not going in. But yeah, it's too late to abandon my work and abandon my game and who I am. This late in the season, I got to trust it and live or die by it.
All right, that's SGA right there. Let me read a couple of comments, and I think most of them are going to say Slee. All right, let's see what we got here. Please don't let Game 7 be a blowout. Basketball gods, please help us. I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. I mean, I think the fact that we're just getting to a Game 7 is phenomenal. Now, I'll tell you what the NBA wants. Can you imagine how excited the NBA would be? They're already getting a Game 7 on a Saturday night. Can you imagine how excited they would be if Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs are taking on the New York Knicks? Can you imagine how excited the league would be if Victor Wembanyama in Game 3, it's at the Madison Square Garden? I'm watching either way. I mean, obviously, I'm excited about this, but I think I know who the NBA is rooting for. I would not be surprised if Adam Silver shows up to Game 7. Maybe he's wearing a Spurs jersey. I wouldn't be surprised. I could see it. He's wearing a De'Aaron Fox jersey. By the way, what happened to De'Aaron Fox? What was he yesterday? I think 1 of 10 or 1 of 11. What happened to De'Aaron Fox? That's how you win, Slee, with a balanced team scoring, not like the Lakers having Luka score 45 points a game. I get it. I think there's a little bit of that. The balance attack that both of these teams have is pretty incredible. Thunder are good, but overrated. They might be overrated if they end up losing Game 7, but until they lose Game 7 and don't win back-to-back, then I don't think they're overrated. The reporter fouled SGA with that question. You got 2 free throws. They're going to actually start Game 7 with 2 free throws. So it's a good point. Great observation. Great observation. Imagine that if you put top flight athletes across from SGA and a rim protector, he struggles. All right, let's get our guests in the mix here. Very excited to have Khobi Price join the show, frequent guest of the show. What up, Khobi?
What's up?
What's going on, man? How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm good. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Did you see that question that came in right before the reporter fouled SGA with that question? What's going on here?
I don't know the question you're talking about. Actually, this was what, post game yesterday.
I think the point is that SGA gets fouled on every possession.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. I started off the show because we're about to get a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals, and I'm obviously enjoying this series, and hopefully other people are as well. What's been I got one question here on the NBA, and then we'll start talking Lakers, but what's been your reaction to so much attention going towards this series, and how the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think we're getting further and further away from what they've been able to accomplish and what they're doing. And now most of the conversation around the Thunder is, well, they draw fouls and this. Do you think a lot of that criticism is fair? Do you think it's overblown? What would you say?
I mean, to an extent, it's fair, right? But it is concerning is not the right word. I just don't know if it's the best for the league, where so much of the conversation, again, it's also like certain pockets of the narrative or conversation is focused on the foul drawing, the physicality that, and it's true. Like you talk, it's not just like media or fans saying it. It's people within the league who talk about how the Thunder can play a certain kind of way defensively. And if you match that physicality or intensity on your end, there's going to be a foul. I think that's actually more so the hang up. At least when you talk to people throughout the league, it's not the way they draw fouls, it's the way that they can foul you, and it's not called. And if you try to replicate
Redick mentioned that a couple times during the series. Sure,
he did. He did. I mean, I know JJ's mentioned it. I think Chris Finch has been vocal about it as well. Like, so it's not just fans. Like, these are head coaches of teams. You can talk to people behind the scenes too. They say the same thing.
Finch might have started it. I think Finch didn't Chris Finch, was it this season? Did he get like thrown out of a game in the first minute or something like that? I don't know if you remember this. And then post game is when I think he kind of lit up the way the game is being played. And then after that, I'm like, damn, we got clips all over social media. We had like detectives out there grabbing these clips.
No, that's right. Yeah, that this season it had to be early this season, either early this season or maybe last season. But you're right, I do remember this. But it does take away from the fact that, look, like the Spurs, they're the kind of team that can give a player like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander problems. I mean, look, any team problems. They won 62 games during the regular season. They have the Defensive Player of the Year, one of the best two-way players in the league right now. They have these. I was saying it yesterday while watching the game, like having Castle and Harper as your two young guards of the future, like they've got it. And then that's before even getting to Fox. I know he hasn't had the best series. He's playing through this injury clearly. Yeah. But just having a steady ball handler. I mean, you have all these guards. They're fast. I mean, I'm watching like through like a lens of the Lakers, right? Of just like, what can you learn? Like they're fast, they're quick, they're athletic. They can be a little bit more aggressive because they know they have Wemby behind them who can just really like shut off the paint. I mean, there are a lot of things that the Spurs are doing well that probably are either getting overlooked or under discussed because we talk about the fouls, which they make for great jokes. Like that was a phenomenal joke. Whoever brought that one.
Well, here's what I will tell you, that what's also encouraging and discouraging. It's encouraging to see so many young players in the postseason actually contributing. What's discouraging is I don't see 3 or 4 of those guys sitting on the Lakers roster where you think like, hey, I can get 10 minutes from this guy, 15 minutes from this guy. Like it's encouraging to see that you can be a youngster right now playing in the Western Conference Finals, and you could be given key minutes for the Thunder, or you can be giving key minutes for the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, these guys are some of these guys are second year, some of these guys are rookies, some of these guys are third year, and they're playing critical minutes for both of these squads, specifically the San Antonio Spurs. So that
Carter
says a
Bryant.
lot right there. Oh,
Yeah, Carter Bryant. I mean, on the Spurs side, you just have Castle, second year.
yep.
Harper, rookie. Carter Bryant, rookie.
Bro, and getting that kind of like these are critical minutes these dudes are playing in.
Yeah, and they're not like filling it. I mean, shoot. Harper and Castle was the starting backcourt for games 1 and 2 because Fox was injured.
Yeah.
And Carter Bryant, I mean, he's been in the rotation. Like he is a rotation player for his team in the Western Conference Finals. Like that is. And then, I mean, on the other side, obviously, the Thunder, they have
Sure.
They have Jay McCain. They have
AJ Mitchell did what he did against the Lakers. Yep.
Yeah, he got hurt, injured, but yeah, like as before, like even like we forget, but like even Chet and Jalen Williams are like somewhat young. Like they're still like this is their last year of their rookie deals. So how young are they? But like to have guys like you said in your first or second year be able to contribute to this level or be like consistent rotation players, some starters.
Yep.
Like that's why every other team in the West looks at them like, what? How do you
that's I think that's a perfect transition to my next question. As you watch, these teams, and you and I we're always kind of seeing things through the lens of the Lakers, since that's our main coverage. How do you look at the Lakers specifically and say, all right, well, how do you go through this offseason where you feel like, again, you're probably going to come into this next season, no matter what you do, still staring up at the Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. I don't think there's a solution overnight. I think this is going to be something that probably takes time, and we'll see what happens with these other squads. But how do you look at how far the Lakers are, and what are the things that are most important to address this offseason? Again, just so you can feel like you're in the conversation with some of these other teams elite in the West.
Yeah, I think they've shown they showed it this season. I think they even to an extent the previous season, even though that season resulted in a first round out, they're still in that class right below the Thunder and I guess the Spurs now. Like the Spurs kind of vaulted themselves up from potential play-in or playoff.
They're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, way ahead of schedule. But the Lakers have shown like they're right there. I mean, obviously it's the offseason, things can change. We don't know if they're going to be stars moving, key role players, but they're right there in that Houston, Minnesota mix, right? Like
Can I ask you this, Khobi? How far do you think that gap is between the others and the Spurs and the Thunder? Because I don't disagree with you that the Lakers are in that next tier, but how big of a tier do you think it is? How big is that gap between the Lakers, these West teams, and then all of a sudden the Spurs and the Thunder who are by themselves?
It's significant. I mean, it's not to the point where I'm like, you have Luka, you have, presumably you're going to have Austin. Like you have pieces and guys who can help you close that gap. But that's what makes, I don't even know if you can close that gap this offseason, to be honest. Like it's going to take multiple transaction cycles to really narrow that gap. Because the other thing about maybe not the Thunder so much, we'll see about the Thunder, but at least the Spurs, in theory, they're supposed to get better. Like the gap is going to potentially widen because they're still like, we talk about their young guys, like Wemby's going to get better. Castle's going to get better. Harper's going to get better. Carter Bryant's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they add a little bit more depth to the end of their bench. Like they have, Kelly Olynyk, Bismack Biyombo, Mason Plumlee. I forget there's one, like they have all these, those three, like maybe you upgrade those spots. So they can get better. The Thunder, in theory, can still get better as well, but it's going to be more challenging for them going forward. So to me, the gap's not just significant now. It can become even more significant if the Lakers don't take the steps they need to this offseason before the trade deadline in February to add to their team, to add depth, we can go through it. Like I think they need to add depth, not really, like a little bit more so to like spots, 4 through 7. But really the back end, you talked about it, like at least on the Thunder side, he's not a young player, but to have a guy like, I'm blanking on his name right now. Kenrich Williams, who's been on that team, on that roster for a while. He's not in the rotation just because you have so much talent. And then, you get these injuries. He has a decent, I think it was the end of game 4, he played well, knocked down a couple shots. And then game 5, he's an important part of a game 5 win in the Western Conference Finals. And he's a decent player. He just doesn't play because you have other good players on your roster. Like that's the kind of depth that obviously the Thunder's depth is kind of a luxury because they do have guys on rookie, like all NBA guys on rookie deals. Shea's about to get his extension kicked in, but like that's the kind of depth that the Lakers just like. We saw like once you got to spots beyond really like 8 or 9 guys, if there was an injury or if there was poor performance, anything along those lines, then it could get shaky. And for the Thunder and Spurs, but especially the Thunder, it doesn't really get shaky until maybe spot 13. I think JJ said it. You know, they have they have their rookie who's injured, and they have Topic who dealt with his health issues this past season and then injured last year. Outside of that, they have 13 guys who could be in your top 7 or 8 for every other team in the league.
Was this a baseball team? How many guys do they have that's that's contributing? Okay, I'll ask you this. I think other than the main players, you had a good article that just kind of went through again, Khobi, part of the California Post, but you had a good article that was just really kind of breaking down where each Lakers player stands heading into the offseason and all the questions that comes with the Lakers. Forget let's no LeBron, no Austin Reaves, no Luke. Let's kind of move on from those guys. What are the biggest questions for you after you get past the main players? And is there a couple of players that you'd really, really like to see and you think it's just going to be important for them to come back?
What does DeAndre do with his player option? I think that's key. I mean, even if he opts in, that doesn't mean you can't. I mean, you can still trade him.
Sure,
you can still upgrade because
and very movable. Like that.
Yeah,
the Ayton thing is not I don't think that big of a deal. It's an expiring contract at 8.5. That's nothing.
Yeah, but so that's like to me that's a pivot point. You know, if he opts out because he knows like he can get more money, or that to me that just opens up opportunity in terms of now you can truly go after the big man or center you think, whether it's via trade. It's probably would have to be via trade that you think you can pair with Luka for the long term. Guys I think they should really bring back, like Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard. I would bring back Jackson, for big man depth, not as a starter, but as a backup.
No, he's a good backup. He's proved he's a good backup. Yeah,
good backup. Those three, the Rui one's the interesting one. I think that's that's the interesting one because I think he fits like. We saw like there were sometimes concerns about like how does a Luka, LeBron, Rui, especially when you threw in DeAndre in there, like how does that lineup fit? The shooting, the size, it helps. And he can, obviously we saw in the playoffs and we've seen like he's not just a shooter, he's a scorer. He has the mid-range, like he's one of the best mid-range shooters this past season.
He was incredible in the play. His shooting percentage in the postseason was just absurd.
Yeah, and we've seen this like year over year. Like outside of I think it was 2023, like he's a playoff riser. Like his percentages go like spike up in the playoffs. So we've seen that he's helpful. Like just really going to be the money part of it. What does a Rui Hachimura contract look like in 2026? At least for the Lakers.
Can I ask you this? What do you think is a good number for both sides? What do you think is I don't know if they should be putting that much resources towards him.
Probably 15. So then obviously 15-ish depending on the years. Maybe you go 3 for 45. I think anything beyond
that I think definitely works both ways, right? Now maybe Rui sees himself at 20 a year, right? So or maybe other teams see him at 20 a year, which is why that can drive up the price. He's going to be an interesting one. You're right about that. I don't know if there's enough conversation about Rui. There's so much like attention in other places. The Rui piece is going to be an interesting one because I think he's going to have – there's got to be a lot of teams that say to themselves, watching Rui in the postseason, like, hey, he would be a nice kind of vet piece to have on your team.
Yeah, I mean, at least for the Lakers. I mean, the other thing is if you don't have him, I mean, he's played significant minutes for them over the past, several seasons. Like he is a guy who, I mean, again, the shooting, the size, you can depend on him to play 25 to 30 minutes a night. Like that, like you shouldn't undervalue that. I mean, so if you can get him for, like, I feel like 15 is fair. I mean, he's in the prime of his career. I think he's 28 years old. He should, in theory, like either get maybe a little bit better or, stay at this level for the next few seasons. So even like I said, 15. So even like 30 over 2, 45 over 3. Like if you can get anything lower than that, like to me, I would like 20 is a little bit rich. Even under this, the cap's going up, like 20 is a little bit rich. You want to maintain flexibility because to me, at least on the current roster, like let's assume Austin comes back. Luka, Austin are your starters. To me, you can have potentially 3 open starting spots on this roster, like Marcus and Rui, and then a center. That's a good starting lineup. But again, we talked about depth. Like if you had Marcus and Rui as bench players, or just one of them coming off the bench, to me, that's a reflection of you have decent depth on their roster. So I think to me, that's why I'm looking at Rui. Like 20 is a little bit much for a player who may potentially a 6-man, who may start, who may come off the bench, depending on what the rest of the team looks like.
It's a good observation. I mean, really what you're asking yourself, and we were just talking about how do you get closer to San Antonio and Oklahoma City? I'll tell you one way of not doing that is just running back the same squad that you just had, right? Like, I don't think that's obviously going to be the answer. That's going to be the solution. But there are certain guys that clearly have shown, hey, we could be on your team. I could be on your roster for the next couple of years. I think Rui has proved that, but it's got to be the right number. Let me throw another a couple other, I guess you could say, players your way, and we could kind of determine what to do. So let's get into that Reaves conversation here for a quick second. I saw this, and for what it's worth, again, I don't think this is shocking, but Reaves, the Nets, Tim Bontemps had put out that the Nets are one potential bidder to watch out for Austin Reaves. So in that specific market, I know he had even said, there was an excerpt here, talked a little bit about it yesterday. One potential bidder to watch this summer, sources said, is the Brooklyn Nets, who will enter this offseason with more than enough salary cap space to accommodate a max type player. I don't think anybody thinks Austin Reaves is going anywhere. I think the question is going to be, are teams going to drive up the price? To what level can a team drive up the price? Do I think the Lakers are going to offer Austin Reaves 5 years, $241? I don't. I hope not. I just think that's it's a lot of money for Austin Reaves, and I do think that there's maybe I'm a little less confident that a Luka AR backcourt is going to lead them to the promised land. Everything else has got to be, obviously almost perfect from that perspective. What do you make of the Austin Reaves offseason? What do you make of, again, I could kind of do this that we did with Rui. What do you think is a fair number for both sides on that?
I mean, his offseason, I do expect him to come back to Los Angeles.
I agree.
To re-sign with the Lakers. It's going to just be, do they find the right number? Like, and it's less concerned about Rui. Less of a concern compared to Rui. It's more about, can you just find the right number? I feel like, again, the math, I feel like 200 over 5. Somewhere in that range. Get him to 40. I mean, and the crazy thing is, like, it probably feels like a lot of money for Austin Reaves. I think some of it's also because
I got sticker shock. I got sticker shock. I read that yesterday. There was somebody else that said something kind of similar, that he's probably going to be in that 200 range. And right when I saw that, I was like, what happened? But here's the thing is, like, I already know that he's going to be around that number. I don't think he's going to get, ask Lonzo Ball. Lonzo's saying he's only giving him 150, whether you like it or not. I don't know if you saw that podcast. Lonzo, literally his words, it was pretty funny. Lonzo's like, I'm giving him 150 and he's taking it, but I don't know, what that number is going to eventually be, but 200 does feel like a lot. And that's probably going to be the number.
I mean, that's probably going to be the number, but we also have to keep this in mind within, like, cause I'm thinking basically 40 million annually. Right. So let's talk about the guys who are making, or at least this past season, who made somewhere between, let's say, 38 to 40 million. This past season, there's not a whole lot of guys who actually made like There's nobody who made exactly 40 million or like even 41. But let's go. Let's do Michael Porter Jr., 38. Franz Wagner, 36, 38.6. Scotty Barnes, 38.6. James Harden, 39. John Morant, 39. Zion Williamson, 39. Darius Garland, 39. OG Anunoby, 39.5. Then you go to Sabonis, 42. Anthony Edwards, 45. Like, and Tyrese Halliburton, 45. Like,
can I stop you for a quick second?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the names that you're mentioning there, two of them stood out to me. Okay. Yeah. Let's use Scotty Barnes as an example. Let's use OG Anunoby as an example. And you might say,
and both those two will both be at 41 and 42 next season, and 42.5 for OG.
There you go. Perfect. So, and I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that, these guys are franchise players. I mean, Scotty Barnes is so young. Who knows? And OG obviously plays his role. I think the biggest issue when we talk Austin Reaves is I always got to go back to who do you want next to Luka? Mm-hmm. And if I have X amount of resources, and let's just pretend like we had a blank slate and you have Luka Doncic there and you're like, all right, you got 40 million to play with on one player. And I gave you a list of all these names that you're talking about, the Scotty Barnes, OG, Franz Wagner, James Harden, Darius Garland, Austin Reaves, put all these names together. I think the thing that I think most GMs would say is, all right, let me find who I think fits perfectly alongside Luka rather than it's just a blank slate. That's where I think the conversation with Austin Reaves starts coming into play. It's like, damn, if you had Scotty Barnes next to Luka Doncic, okay, interesting. If you had, I know OG Anunoby is third or fourth best player on the team with the New York Knicks. I'd probably say third best player, but interesting because they play specific roles. I think that's a lot of the issue that people have with Austin Reaves. Not that he's not worth 35 or 40 million a year. I mean, it just depends what team he's on, but it's more about this roster. And again, I think he's going to get paid, but I think it's worth the conversation.
No, it is. I mean, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic about a Luka Austin fit, but I think a lot of it also depends on how do you build out the rest of the roster.
Yes, 100%.
I think that's more if they don't, because I think we've seen it. Like they actually play well off of each other. Austin can play off the ball. He can play on the ball. Like there's a good synergy between them. I think how well the fit actually goes is more so a reflection of everything else around them rather than them as a actual pairing, if that makes sense, or a tandem.
Sure.
So
yeah, and you're right about that because every other piece has to be like every other piece has got to be pretty damn good. And I'll tell you just right out the gate, right? You got to have a center that is definitely holding it down on the defensive side. You got to have a center that has the ability to play off of those two players that don't need the ball but can still get his 15 and 12 a night or 10 a night or whatever the case is. You need wings that can say, yep, I'll guard this guy. You don't worry about it. You're right about the rest of the positions become that much more important.
And yeah, and even with, let's say in theory, because Luka, even like by, NBA standards, Luka will still relatively be underpaid compared to the rest of his peers. So like, I think if let's say Austin is making 40 next season, which again, other names, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Maxey, they'll be making 40 next season. Brandon Ingram, 40 next season. Let's say he gets a 40, Luka's making 51. Like that's 90 million between your top two players, which in today's NBA isn't really a lot. For context, like Jamal Murray, who will be making 50 next season, and Jokic, who'll be making 59. Like they're making 109 together. So it's actually like for your top two players, it's not a whole lot. However, it does put a magnifying glass on every other roster spot.
Big time.
Okay. So it doesn't destroy your roster building tools, but it does make it more difficult. The other point actually is come to my mind talking about this. I think some of the sticker shock is the fact that Austin has been underpaid for so much of his career, especially this last contract. It's in like his story, undrafted, like we've gone through his story. I think some people are having a hard time thinking of like, this guy's been underpaid for so long. He's made X amount for so long. Now it's time to actually pay him his value. It's like, oh shoot, like that's not, we're not used to that. People aren't used to that because the reality is he should have been making more money his last deal.
Sure. No, you're not wrong on that. He was definitely underpaid in his last deal. I think for me, again, I come back to if this was, it's not the best maybe example, but if there was no salary cap in basketball, then I don't care, right? Because then you're like, well, you could still fill in every hole that you have, but you're trying to put together this puzzle, and you know that you only have so many pieces to play with. And that's what starts making it, that's what obviously starts making it more complicated. And frankly, if I'm being blunt about it, I don't think Reaves has really helped himself in some of these playoff performances. And we could say that, obviously we could say injuries, this and that, but I don't think he's really helped himself. I want to kind of jump around here real quick. Let me just kind of get your opinion on this. And I still believe that when the dust settles, LeBron's going to be a Laker. Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like there is, some legitimacy to, hey, he may end up with a different team, or maybe he goes to the Cavs? I just have a difficult time thinking that he's going to be anywhere else. Do you agree with that, or do you think there can be, if the Lakers lowball him, maybe he says, you know what, I'm going to go play somewhere else?
Yes, it's all the above. No, it is a legitimate. I think there's a legit concern about like if they lowball him, or I think some of it's going to be about respect, right? If you come to LeBron with a certain number, like it has to be a respectful number, and then also detail a plan of, all right, if you're suggesting or offering something that's a significant pay cut from what he's made before, okay, what is that like? Why basically? Like, what does that mean for the rest of the roster? Because he said it the end of last season. He said it various points. It's about winning for him. So if you can detail a plan in which you outline, we need you to take X, whatever that number is, because if you do so, that means we can be in a better position to win by adding this player, this piece, this player, make this trade, or these sorts of trades become available to us. That's what the Lakers have to do. And if they don't present the right number, if they lowball him, or if they just lowball him without a plan, then that's where I could see it being more for on the LeBron side of, let's see what these other teams are talking about, or let's see what the other offers are. Because even with, I know there's a lot of conversation about other teams can't really offer a whole lot. If they really, you can even say this for the Lakers. If
you get creative,
you can get creative. If you really want him on your roster, like any other player, you can get creative. Open up salary, open up a roster spot. Like you can get creative. So
can I ask you what's a respectful number in your mind, and what's a disrespectful? I mean, I guess disrespectful is that's an easier number to predict, but what do you think is a respectful number?
25-ish, somewhere in that range.
Okay. All right. Because to be honest with you, I guess I don't know what that number is then, because I thought disrespectful might be around that 20-25. Like I thought LeBron might be saying to himself, yeah, I got to be making north of 30. I don't know. I'm just,
yeah, it's hard to say. I think 25-ish. I say ish because like just straight 25 may not be it, but like somewhere in like the 25 to 30 range is probably like, it's respectful, but it's also like you can, because
we can work with this. Sure.
Yeah. Because like Austin's going to get a $25 million raise, presumably, or somewhere in the $20 to $25 million range. So, and you have to take that salary out of somewhere. Now, in theory, you're going to be losing a couple players, from this roster who make a decent amount of money, so you can make it up in those ways. But you still want to have more optionality, to use a word from Pelinka, going into the offseason than just like, okay, if Austin's making 50, let's just say Austin makes 20 more, LeBron, you make 20 less, because then you're not really opening up flexibility. You're just you're just really just like copy and paste. So I think 25 to 30, and 30 is like in terms of maintaining optionality, again, to steal Rob's word, that's the number that you're just like, okay, like that should be good, at least especially compared to where he would more than likely be able to make
somewhere else.
From the other team, even if that team's being creative, like 30 is again, I just went through the people who are making 40, Like when you get somebody who's making 30, it gets even, we're talking about like.
I'll tell you this: if LeBron took anywhere in that 25 to 30 range and gave the Lakers that type of flexibility, then it's obviously up to the Lakers to say, here's what we're doing with that money. And it's obviously their responsibility to make that money work from there. But I tip my cap to LeBron, and I understand the man's got a lot of money, but he's also worth a lot more than $25 million a year. He just is. His value, what he brings to the table on the court, off the court. So that would be that I think he'd get a lot of love from Laker fans if he was able to, obviously do that. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. Cole, final one, and this has been obviously, as always, it's a fun conversation to have with you. There was an article yesterday, and this will kind of lead me to some other conversations. There was an article yesterday in Silver Screen and Roll, and it's basically the question is what to do with Dalton Knecht. You have any ideas what the Lakers should do with Dalton Knecht and potentially his future? Would love your thoughts on that.
If you don't have a plan to develop him, like to truly develop him to a rotation player or like reinsert him back into the rotation, I think the easy answer is to trade him, to be quite frank. Find a destination where he'll get playing time, where he could potentially, just find him a destination where he can get playing time. I think that'd be best for both parties. You don't even have to trade him for a first round pick or a
you don't got to get a lot of value back. Sure.
Yeah. Like second round pick, second round pick, you open up a roster spot. Like at this point, if you don't have a clear plan to develop him and play him, I think it's time to either trade him or those are the two options to me.
Yeah,
I think there's more so the trading option.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Either use him or let him go off and try to see if he can resurrect his career somewhere else. Cole, appreciate it, buddy. You got what do you think? Game 7, Thunder Spurs. You want a quick little prediction here?
I'm gonna go Thunder.
Thunder and 7.
Thunder. Okay. Yeah, Thunder 7. My preseason prediction for the finals was Knicks Thunder. I'm gonna stick to it.
Preseason prediction. Wow.
I'm stick to it. Don't once you get this far, you stick to it.
I think I like making predictions and then as the season goes on, claim I never made them if they're wrong. I just put my hands up like I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I've done that before. Trust me.
Okay, before this series started, I said Spurs in 7. So I got to go with that. I got to go Spurs here.
I said also Thunder. I think I said Thunder in 7. I forget. I said Thunder in 7. I'm sticking with it. I mean,
we're kind of rivals for the next couple of days. I mean, I'm all Spurs here. I'm all Spurs here for this next game.
I'm all Thunder. I'm all OKC. All Thunder. All Thunder, no rain.
There you go. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate the time. Hope you enjoy your weekend. I know we'll connect soon. All right.
Appreciate you.
All right. That is Khobi Price right there. Good stuff. Good game 7 coming. Okay. I want to stay real quick on the Dalton Knecht conversation. I'll start looking at some of the comments as well. He said something else there. I mentioned this article that came out. Dalton Knecht. Let's see what we got here. He's on a 4-year deal with the Lakers. He's got $4.2 million for the upcoming season. It's a team option. He becomes a restricted free agent in 2028. I mean, I think what he said, he honestly took a lot of the words right out of my mouth. You got to do one of two things with this guy. Either he's part of your plan and you're going to start giving him minutes and you're going to give him a true opportunity to either fail or succeed, or just trade his ass. Like, I don't think it's fair to both sides. I mean, you got one guy that was already traded. The trade was rescinded, has to come back to the Lakers. Clearly, the Lakers don't have interest in Dalton Knecht. All right, if you don't have any interest in him, let this man, let him go try to resurrect something somewhere else. Maybe he lands on a team. It's a lottery team. They're not going anywhere. All good. But the Dalton Knecht factor to me, it's like the last thing I think the Lakers should be doing is having him 12th or 13th on the bench, and you're not using him. You're not adding any value. You're telling the entire league that he has no value on your team. If you're not going to use him, then do your best to get whatever you can for Dalton Knecht. Ship him in any type of deal that you got going on. Make him a throw-in even if you do. And this goes back to the front office. I'm watching players in the playoffs right now that are rookies, that are second-year players, that are third-year players, and they are huge contributors to potential playoff championship rotations. Dalton Knecht can't get his ass off the bench. So the Lakers have to figure out, and I think this is part of the frustration, I think, from a lot of Laker fans, how many picks you guys going to waste? How many picks are you going to go out there and basically just throw away? I mean, is there a franchise out there that either looks at their picks and trades them away like they're nothing, or just does – listen, I'm not telling you every single pick has been awful. I think Adu Thero's got an opportunity, but I could look at Jalen Hood-Schifino. I could look at Dalton Knecht. I could look at some of these first-rounders, and it's like, damn, what guy's going to hit for them? That part's been frustrating. I think the Dalton Knecht piece is, I'll go back to it. I don't know what the market is for him. Maybe there isn't a great market for him, but either start bringing more value to the table by using Dalton Knecht, or basically just pull the plug and say, we're going to let this guy go. So there's my thoughts on Dalton Knecht there. Feel bad for the guy in a weird sense, but at the same time, it is a business, and that comes with the business. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here from everybody. I think bottom feeder teams might take a flyer. I don't disagree with you on that. I don't disagree with you at that at all. By the way, if I'm a squad out there, I don't got an issue letting Dalton Knecht, obviously be with the right team, properly trying to teach him how to be. Take a flyer for a year. It doesn't work out. All right, then maybe Dalton Knecht's time in the NBA is limited. Dalton Knecht's a good expiring trade, potential larger deal. Here's the problem. I don't think he has much value. So I think for a team, they're not going to give you much in order to get Dalton Knecht. So I think there's a piece of me that just thinks this guy is going to have to eventually go play somewhere else. Knecht is the plan for failure. True, it's unfair to him too. I'd love for Dalton to become a real player, but it doesn't seem like a good fit. We also have a history of treating young talent like crap and holding them back. All right, get rid of him then. Again, I go back to this. It's like with this young talent, you want one of two things to happen. Either you're letting this young talent get some great experience and develop, and it looks like you're, certainly kind of guiding them towards success, or you move on. And the Lakers have kind of been in this in-between with Dalton Knecht, where he's just rotting on the bench. You're not adding any value. You're not showing the rest of the NBA what kind of potential he may have. And you're not adding any value to him as well by doing that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Knecht needs a fresh start. I wouldn't expect any value coming back in him, though. All right, that at least gives us a little bit of idea what people think about the Dalton Knecht front of things. Again, good article, and shout out to Silver Screen and Roll for bringing up a topic that I think has not been a topic so far this offseason, but it's a good conversation. Okay, we got a few other things that I want to do here, and I got a little bit of sound that I want to play as well on this new lottery, kind of this the anti-tanking, how to stop tanking. So we're going to do that in just a second. Let's start off first by giving some love to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa, WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to them for being a partner now. Second season in a row they've been here. I've been 100% independent on YouTube for 2 years. Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm has been with me for 2 years. I was on radio for obviously a number of years. He was with me on radio back in my days at 710. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm for being here. The one thing that I do love with this partnership, and I hope nobody ever needs an injury attorney. Things happen in life. You, family member, or friend, something happens, just know that you got the best in the business that can represent you. A little over, I'm going to keep mentioning this because it's a real life example. About a week and a half ago, somebody hits me up with an email, loyal listener. I mean, I've seen this guy on here all the time. And he hits me up and says, Al, got a situation, family member, this, kind of gives me all the details. Possible you could put me in touch with Brad Wallace? Absolutely. Text Brad Wallace. His team gets in touch with him, and they're working on whatever they need to work on. That's how quick and easy we can get you in the right hands. It's a daunting, intimidating process. Nobody really knows. I don't know what the heck to do if I get in a car accident or a serious injury or something along those lines. These guys do. This is what they do for a living. They can help anybody in the state of California. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa, or feel free to send me an email if I can help in any way. All right. The new lottery. A lot going on here in the new lottery. A lot happening here in a little confusing, I think. Let's play a clip here real quick. Brian Windhorst was on, and he's talking about the 3-2-1 lottery reform, which the worst records now have their chances of getting the top pick. We know, just kind of real quick on this, we all kind of know one of the bigger frustrations around the NBA has been teams tanking. Everybody hates it. What the hell's going on here? But I get it. I've said this before. I'm like, it's strategic. I mean, if you're incentivized to lose in order to get better later on, then you're probably going to lose. The NBA is going full extreme the other way. Let's listen to Brian Windhorst. He's kind of given his thoughts, his explanation. By the way, this past 29-1 was the margin. Every single team voted for it except the Grizzlies. Not really sure why, but the Grizzlies did not vote for it. So that's where the team is. Lottery moves from 14 teams to 16 teams, and the bottom 3 teams in the standings get penalized with lesser odds than the teams who are slotted 4 through 10 in the standings. Take a quick listen to Brian Windhorst.
Yeah, it used to be if you were a bottom 3 team or 4 team, and boy, did teams really try to get in that bottom 4, you had the best chances. And now they're just making it very hard for you to win a lot of the top picks. So under the current system, which we just had, if you were in that top 4, you all had a 14% chance of winning that number 1 pick. And obviously a really good chance of being in that top 3. Now, if you've got one of the worst records, your chances of getting a top pick have been slashed. You have a much better chance of falling into the 6 through 12 range. And you could fall all the way to 12th, Pelinka. You could have the worst record in the league and end up with the 12th pick. And there's a reasonable chance you're going to be back there. So they want teams not tanking to get into the bottom 3. They want teams fighting to the finish to get out of the top 3. And look, they understand that this is a triage situation. This is a bleeding wound. And the reason we know that is part of this is that they're only planning to do this for 3 years. This is a 3-year window. Now, they may extend it, but they've already got what they call a sunset provision in there.
Okay, so that kind of gives a little bit of an explanation. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to be perfect, but they had to do something. They had to change something. Will there be some things that we're not aware of today that you're like, yeah, I don't know if that makes all the sense in the world? Sure. But they got to do something. And I'm Adam Silver, to me, I think when he first became the commissioner, I was a much bigger fan. Now, I don't know. To be honest with you, I think he's a little bit all over the place. I mean, yesterday, I'm playing a clip here, Pat McAfee show, where he's like, the refs have been incredible. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You got literally everybody in the NBA is talking about how they don't like the way these games are called, or OKC's drawing fouls, or they're flopping. And he comes on Pat McAfee. He's like, it's incredible. All right. Continue to bullshit everybody. But at least in regards to this, I get it. I understand it. I do think they have a problem. And now they're obviously trying to address it. So that is going to be the scope of the new NBA. And we'll see how it works, and we'll see if it's effective or it's not. But I'd rather them try to do something than do nothing at all. So big stuff yesterday on the NBA front. And, obviously now we will wait to see what happens moving forward. But that's where we are in regards to the lottery. All right, let's do our weekend preview here. We're going to tie it into some NBA news as well. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. They are, of course, sponsoring the weekend preview. Okay, let me look here real quick. Couple stories around the NBA. I saw this. LeBron posting a clip from the 2016 NBA Finals. Big deal or not? He posted something, a highlight clip of the 2016 Finals on his Instagram story, and says, "What a effing team." I guess they're getting closer to the 10-year anniversary of the Cavs winning the NBA championship. They come back down 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. I don't think it's a big deal, but anything LeBron does And there's some things that LeBron does where I'm like, yeah, this I think there's a reason why he's doing this. I don't think that's the case. So I don't think that's the case in regards to that. Weekend preview, we'll keep this one simple. Spurs at the Thunder, Game 7, 5 p.m. tomorrow on NBC Peacock. The second Game 7 in NBA history, two teams with a 750 winning percentage in the regular season. Celtics versus the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals in 81. Celtics came back from being down 3-1. Yeah, this is going to be a badass weekend because of this game. And certainly going to be pretty damn special to see what happens. Mitchell Robinson has a broken pinky, and Shams reports that Robinson had surgery and plans to play in Game 1 for the New York Knicks. The finals will not start, if I'm correct here, until Wednesday. So we got a couple of days until the NBA Finals starts. And Mitchell Robinson, kind of a little bit of bad luck there, but we'll see how much that affects him. It's not like Mitchell Robinson they're calling plays for him to pull up from 25 feet. But, clearly the type of style he plays, they're going to need a bruiser for either one of these teams they play, the Thunder or the San Antonio Spurs. So quick little note there on the Mitchell Robinson front. Last thing I'm going to mention, and then we'll get into all the comments here as well. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, last one I'm going to get into here, just something to keep in mind. On Monday, I'm going to come back on the show, and I'm going to do a show at 8 a.m. as always. I do have a Knicks guest coming on that will help us talk about things. At that point, we're already going to know what the NBA Finals is, who the Knicks are playing, and we'll get a chance to kind of take a Knicks perspective here of Game 1, which is going to be on Wednesday. All right, let's read a couple of comments here, and then we're going to get out of here. It's going to work because the next few years, draftees ain't good anyway. I would love to see the league relegate the bottom 3. That would be awesome, like soccer does. I'm actually, I think in a weird way, I've mentioned this before. I haven't probably mentioned it enough. There's certain sports out there. I'll use the NFL as an example. The NFL is so big that I think if you added 10 more teams to the NFL and literally had a relegation like they do in soccer, I think it would add 10 more cities. It would, maybe this is more of a selfish thing because I want San Diego to have a football team again, but I don't. And maybe the NBA is a league that you can have some type of, you could add X amount of more cities, but that wouldn't be something that would happen for that. That'd obviously be years. Knecht is the next one. Fans will be saying, "How the hell did we let him go?" Maybe you're right. Trade Dalton for a second. Trade Vando for a second. Clear up space. Sign Drew Timme to replace Vando. Yeah, Vando seems like one of those players that it just seems like one of those players that's probably not going to be around here. We'll see what happens. Slee, can you go live after game on Saturday? I don't think so. I'm not sure. Probably not. Maybe we'll wait till Monday. We'll see how good the game is. I don't want to say yes and then not deliver. I got a member show coming up. We'll do it at 9:30. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for a phenomenal week. Appreciate you guys continuing to come on the channel. Get your Lakers, get your NBA here. So greatly appreciated. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Game 7. And I will see you guys on Monday morning at 8 a.m. Shout out to Khobi Price for joining the show. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. And shout out to Eric Sklar, who produces. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday.